Okay. So you know how like sometimes you think about your career and you kind of wonder like, did I make the right choices? Like, should I have done something different?
Yeah.
It's so easy to like second guess yourself and feel that pressure, from like family or even just what everyone else seems to be doing. And that's exactly what we're going to be diving deep into today.
Okay.
We're going to be looking at this blog post called Ravi's Journey, How Influence Shapes Career Choices.
Okay.
And it's from this blog, Beyond the Desk, Level Up with Resilience, posted on February 10th, 2025.
All right.
And it's like a real life look at how all these external pressures can like really shape someone's entire career path. And honestly, it might even make you rethink some of your own decisions along the way.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So we just jump right into it and see what Ravi's journey can teach us.
Sounds good to me. Let's dive in.
So Ravi's story starts when he's just 15 years old.
Okay.
And he's facing that like classic which stream to choose dilemma, that I'm sure a lot of our listeners can relate to.
Yeah, for sure.
The blog mentions that pretty much all his friends were going for science, even though he wasn't really all that passionate about it.
Right.
I mean, peer pressure is pretty strong at that age.
Oh, yeah.
So do you think like he was really making like a conscious choice, or was it just like trying to fit in?
You hit the nail on the head there.
Yeah.
Teens are still, they're trying to figure out who they are and where they belong. And that need to belong can be really, really powerful.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because the blog mentions that Ravi's school, they actually offered career counseling.
Oh, wow.
But even that wasn't enough to overcome the influence of his peer group.
Wow.
So it really highlights how those early influences, even when you have guidance available, can have a huge impact on the decisions you make.
That's true.
Yeah.
So unsurprisingly, he ends up in engineering college.
Okay.
But surprise, surprise, he doesn't love it.
Yeah.
We've all been there, right? Like starting something because it seemed like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Only to realize like, oops, this isn't quite the right fit. But then comes the weight of like parental expectations.
Oh, yeah.
Right? The blog actually quotes Ravi's dad as saying, "We've spent so much money on your education already. How can you even think of leaving now?"
Wow.
Whew, that's a lot of pressure to put on someone, especially when they're already feeling uncertain.
Absolutely. And it's such a difficult situation to navigate, because it's not just about what you want anymore.
Right.
You have family expectations, you've got the financial investment, and maybe even a sense of obligation.
Yeah.
It really makes you wonder how many people stay in careers they don't even like just because of this kind of pressure.
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about it.
Yeah.
So, okay, Ravi finishes engineering,
All right.
but then the MBA craze hits.
Oh, yeah.
And like everyone's talking about it as like the golden ticket to a high paying job. So was he genuinely interested in getting an MBA, or was it just like the next logical step that everyone else seemed to be taking?
Yeah. That's where societal trends come in, and that was a big one.
Right.
The idea that an MBA was like a guaranteed path to success was everywhere,
Yeah.
But here's the thing, a lot of graduates, they kind of overlook the importance of networking and building their personal brand during their MBA,
Right.
which kind of puts them at a disadvantage in the job market.
Oh, that makes sense.
A degree alone isn't enough anymore.
Interesting point. So it's not just about the piece of paper. It's about the skills and connections you build along the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, so that brings us to Ravi's job search after he gets his MBA.
Okay.
And he's thinking like, okay, this can be smooth sailing,
Yeah.
But it's not.
Oh.
What happened? Did he just like underestimate the competition, or was there more to it than that?
Well, it seems like a classic case of the gap between academic achievement and real world experience. Companies these days, they're looking for more than just degrees. They want to see practical skill, relevant internships, a strong network. Did Ravi really focus on this during his MBA?
Right.
The blog doesn't say, but, it's something to think about.
Yeah, it's true. So now he's feeling lost, right? Unsure of what to do next.
Yeah.
That's when his parents, they suggest a government job.
Oh, okay.
And, I can see the appeal,
Where?
stability, security, especially in like uncertain times. But is it fulfilling?
That's the age-old question, isn't it? Stability versus fulfillment.
Yeah.
And, for Ravi, with his background and his family's expectations, a government job probably seemed like a really safe and respectable option.
Right.
But the blog hints that there might be some downsides too.
Okay.
You know, he might be walking into a system known for bureaucracy, slow career progression, and not a lot of room for like innovation.
Yeah.
So do you think he's sacrificing passion for perceived safety?
That's a tough question, and I bet a lot of our listeners have probably thought about that at some point in their careers too.
Yeah.
What do you think are some of the like less obvious challenges that someone like Ravi might face in a government job?
Well, one challenge could be the pace of decision making.
Okay.
You know, government jobs, they often involve like multiple layers of approval
Yeah.
and a much slower, more deliberate process, which can be really frustrating for someone who's used to a faster pace.
That's true.
Additionally, seniority often plays a bigger role in promotions and getting new opportunities,
Right.
which might clash with Ravi's ambition and desire for quick career growth.
Interesting. So it's not just about the job itself, it's like the whole work culture and how it fits with your personality and what you expect.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a lot to consider.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder, did Ravi even consider any of this before taking the job?
That's a great question, and it leads us into something really important when it comes to making career decisions. Self-awareness. Did Ravi truly understand his own values, his work style preferences, and his long-term aspirations before he accepted this government job?
It's like he's trading one set of external pressures for another,
Yeah,
out of the frying pan into the fire.
right.
But the blog makes it clear this isn't the end of his story.
Oh, really?
In fact, it sounds like things are about to get even more complicated.
That's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Yeah.
We've seen how all these outside influences have shaped his path so far.
Right.
And now he's in this stable job, and you'd think that'd be it, you know?
Yeah, you'd think so.
But the blog hints that there's something more, a struggle that even the security of a government job can't fix.
It makes you wonder, is any career path ever truly final? Like, we change so much as people. It makes sense that our goals would change too.
Absolutely. And some people might argue that, you know, too much change looks bad on a resume.
Yeah.
That it makes you seem unreliable or something.
Right.
But how do you reconcile that with the fact that people evolve? Their passions change. I'd say it's not about sticking with one thing forever,
Yeah.
you know?
Right.
It's about recognizing when something just isn't working anymore and being brave enough to make a change.
So it's more about like recognizing those internal shifts and being willing to adapt rather than just like clinging to a path just because it's what you started with.
Exactly.
That's a powerful perspective.
Yeah.
But it also sounds kind of daunting. Like, how do you even begin to figure out what you truly want when there are so many options and pressures pulling you in different directions?
Yeah, it's definitely a process, and there's no like one size fits all answer.
Right.
But I think the first step is to get really honest with yourself.
Okay.
What are your values?
Yeah.
What are you passionate about? What kind of work environment do you thrive in?
Right.
These are questions that you should ask yourself pretty regularly, not just at the beginning of your career.
That's true. You know, the blog post really highlighted the impact of like parental expectations. Have you ever felt that pressure to follow a certain path because it's what your family expected of you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It can be incredibly tough.
Yeah.
Especially in cultures where family approval is really important.
Right.
But open and honest communication is key.
Oh, okay.
Remember, your parents, they usually want what's best for you.
Yeah,
Even if their definition of best doesn't quite match up with yours.
exactly.
Explain your perspective calmly and respectfully. Help them understand your goals and why they're important to you.
Right.
Sometimes seeing your passion and commitment can be more persuasive than any argument you could make.
That's great advice. And what about those times when you're feeling stuck in a job that just isn't fulfilling?
Yeah.
What advice do you have for our listener if they're in that situation right now?
Well, first, recognize that you always have options.
Okay.
It's easy to feel trapped.
Right.
But you have more control than you think. Explore different roles, maybe within your current company.
Yep.
Or start looking for opportunities elsewhere. Okay.
And don't be afraid to make a change, even if it feels scary.
Right.
Sometimes taking that leap of faith is the best way
Yeah.
to find something that really aligns with your goals.
It brings us back to that idea of like a career journey being ongoing. There's no one right path, and it's okay to change course along the way.
Yeah.
Ravi's story shows that even when things don't go as planned, those challenges can lead to something better.
Exactly. Even setbacks.
Yeah.
They can be really valuable learning experiences.
Yeah.
It's all about how you look at it. Instead of seeing a career change as a failure,
Right.
View it as an opportunity for growth and a chance to get closer to where you're meant to be.
I love that perspective. So where does Ravi's story go from here?
Well, the blog post ends on kind of a cliffhanger.
Oh.
It hints at more struggles.
Okay.
And maybe even a new direction for him.
It's like he was on autopilot for so long, just going through the motions.
Yeah.
And now he's finally like waking up and asking, wait, is this what I really want? And that's a powerful question to ask, no matter where you are in your career.
Yeah.
It's never too late to reevaluate your path and make some adjustments. The blog post doesn't go into detail, but it does kind of suggest that Ravi might be facing some inner conflict.
Right.
Maybe he's realizing that the stability of his government job isn't enough to make up for a lack of passion or purpose.
It's almost like there were all these missed opportunities for self-discovery along the way.
Yeah.
If he hadn't felt so pressured to go into engineering, maybe he could have explored other options within that field.
Right.
Or even considered something totally different.
Yeah.
What do you think? Were there any points where he could have taken a different route?
It's easy to look back and say, well, he should have done this or he should have done that.
Right.
But these decisions are hard.
Yeah.
We're all influenced by so many things. And sometimes it takes time and experience to figure out what we want separate from what other people expect of us.
Yeah, that's true.
One key turning point might have been when he was struggling in engineering school.
Yeah.
Instead of pushing through just because of how much his parents had invested,
Right.
what if he'd looked for mentors?
Yeah.
Or, explored different engineering specializations that he actually found interesting.
That's a good point. Sometimes it's not about abandoning the whole field, but finding that one niche within it that you really connect with.
Exactly.
And it goes back to what we were talking about before, like the importance of self-awareness. If he knew his own strengths and weaknesses better,
Right.
maybe he could have advocated for himself more effectively.
Yeah, definitely. It's not about blaming Ravi for the choices he made.
Right.
But using his story to learn about our own decision-making processes. What can we learn from this experience?
Yeah.
How can we be more proactive in shaping our own career paths, even with all these outside pressures?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
So for our listener out there who might be feeling a bit lost or unsure about their own career,
Yeah.
what's the first step they can take towards finding that clarity?
Start by asking yourself the important questions.
Okay.
What truly matters to me?
Yeah.
What am I passionate about? What are my good and bad qualities? What kind of work environment do I really thrive in? Once you understand yourself better,
Right.
you can start looking at options that really align with your values and your goals.
It's like taking a step back and looking at the big picture instead of just reacting to whatever's happening around you right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And that takes time and experimenting, right?
Absolutely. It's not a one-time thing.
Yeah.
You might need to revisit these questions throughout your career as you gain experience and change as a person. Your answers might change too, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's all part of the journey.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into Ravi's journey, let's leave our listener with this thought. What would you have done in Ravi's shoes at each of those turning points?
Yeah.
Were there any missed opportunities for him to explore what he was interested in?
What could he have done differently, knowing what we know now?
It's definitely something to think about
Yeah.
as you continue on your own career path.
Until next time, keep diving deep. It's like he's trading one set of pressures for another, out of the frying pan into the fire.
Right.
But you know what? The blog post makes it clear that this isn't like the end of his story.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In fact, it sounds like things are about to get even more complicated.
That's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating.
Yeah.
We've seen how all these outside influences have shaped his decisions so far.
Right.
And now he's in this stable job.
Yeah.
And you'd think that'd be it.
You'd think so, yeah.
But the blog hints at like something more going on.
Okay.
Like a struggle that even the security of a government job can't quite fix.
It makes you wonder, is any career path ever truly final?
That's a good question.
I mean, we change so much as people. It makes sense that our goals would change too.
Absolutely.
Right. And some people would argue that, too much change on your resume looks bad.
Yeah.
It makes you seem unreliable.
Right.
But how do you balance that with the fact that people evolve?
Right.
That their passions change?
Yeah.
I'd say it's not about sticking with one thing forever.
Okay.
It's about recognizing when something just isn't working anymore and being brave enough to actually make a change.
So it's more about recognizing those like internal shifts.
Yeah.
And being willing to adapt
Right.
rather than just like clinging to a path because it's what you started with.
Exactly.
That's a really powerful way to think about it.
Yeah.
But it also sounds kind of scary. Like, how do you even start to figure out what you really want
Yeah.
when there's so many options and pressures pulling you in all these different directions.
It's a process for sure.
Yeah.
And there's no one right answer for everyone.
Of course.
But I think the first step is to